The drama surrounding the Indiana Fever took yet another turn in a season defined by highs and lows, as one young player delivered the performance of her career while the rest of the roster crumbled around her. On a night when the Fever desperately needed a spark, Lexie Hull didn't just rise to the moment, she set the court on fire. But while her 23-point outburst gave Indiana hope, the reality beneath the celebration was impossible to ignore. The Fever are battered, bruised, and dangerously close to watching their season slip away. From the very beginning, Hull approached this matchup against the Minnesota Lynx with a mindset that was noticeably different. She later admitted that she had to be more aggressive, that with so many players missing, she knew she had to step into a role far bigger than usual. That confidence was clear from the opening minutes. Her jumpers dropped with ease, her backdoor cuts left defenders flat-footed, and her hustle made her stand out as the engine that refused to stop running. By halftime, she had already poured in 18 points on her way to a career-high 23, hitting 4 of her 7 three-point attempts and playing nearly 37 exhausting minutes. But this wasn't just about points. Hull was everywhere, slashing through lanes, crashing the glass, forcing defenders to chase her at every turn. She didn't wait for the game to come to her. She seized it. Teammates fed off her energy, the bench roared after every make, and for the first time in weeks, the Fever looked alive. Fans watching could sense it too. This wasn't just another role player filling in the gaps. This was a player determined to prove she belonged at the center of the story. Her head coach, Stephanie White, noticed the difference. After the game, White praised Hull for being aggressive, for hunting shots, and for finally stepping into the kind of scorer Indiana desperately needed. It was the first time this season Hull wasn't just filling a role, she was carrying one. And she admitted as much herself, explaining that she was simply reading the defense and trusting her teammates, but also knowing that with so many teammates injured, she had to do more. The humility was clear in her words, but so was the quiet confidence of someone who knew she had finally broken through. Yet as bright as Hull's star shone that night, the darkness surrounding Indiana's season only grew deeper. Because while her breakout gave the Fever hope, the injury nightmare reached an almost surreal level. Caitlin Clark has been sidelined since mid-July with a groin injury, leaving a massive hole in the backcourt. Sophie Cunningham's year ended with a torn MCL. Sydney Colson went down with an ACL tear. Arie McDonald was shut down with a foot injury. That's already 4 rotation players gone before tip-off, and then came this game. Chloe Bibby, one of the few remaining forwards who could provide balance, felt soreness in her knee during warm-ups and was held out. Later, Odyssey Sims, Indiana's only veteran point guard, left the game in the fourth quarter and never returned, awaiting further evaluation. In one night, the list of the wounded grew even longer. By the end of it, the Fever were down 6 rotation players, with Lexie Hull left as the only healthy wing. The ripple effects were devastating. The Fever were forced to throw together makeshift lineups, relying on hardship signees like Shea Petty, who had only just joined the team. Bibby herself was only signed earlier this month, a reflection of how desperate Indiana has become just to fill minutes. When Sims went down, Petty was suddenly tasked with running the offense despite barely knowing the playbook. Possessions broke down, timing collapsed, and by the third quarter, fatigue had completely set in. What made it worse was the way the game unraveled. Indiana entered halftime with momentum and belief, thanks to Hull's hot hand and Kelsey Mitchell's steady leadership. But as has become an all-too-familiar theme, everything fell apart after the break. Minnesota came out firing, outscoring Indiana 32-7 in the third quarter. The Lynx didn't do anything overly complicated. They spread the floor, attacked downhill, and dominated the glass. Indiana, meanwhile, looked stuck. Defensive rotations came late, box-outs disappeared, and offensive possessions ended in rushed jumpers or turnovers. The Fever's promising first half was wiped out in a matter of minutes. That collapse raised the question fans have been asking all season. Is this a roster too broken to compete, or a coaching staff too slow to adjust? Critics pointed to head coach Stephanie White, arguing that this wasn't the first time the Fever lost control in the second half. Indiana has made a habit of starting strong, only to collapse once opponents adjust. White admitted afterward that turnovers and defensive breakdowns hurt them, and she explained that with so many new point guards trying to integrate, execution isn't as sharp as it needs to be. She defended her players, praising their effort. and their refusal to fold, but for fans watching the same mistakes repeat, patience is running thin. Injuries are real, yes, but when opponents make changes and Indiana doesn't, the blame naturally shifts to the sideline. Still, there were glimmers of resilience beyond Hull's heroics. Kelsey Mitchell once again carried the offense, scoring 27 points and drilling 5 of 7 from deep. Before the game, her teammates honored her with MVP shirts during arrivals, a rare and heartfelt gesture that Mitchell admitted meant the world to her. She responded with the kind of leadership Indiana has come to expect, refusing to let the Fever fold completely, even as the walls closed in. Aaliyah Boston, though less dominant than her all-star billing suggests, still battled inside, finishing with 15 points and 6 rebounds while holding the paint together as best she could. Her stat line wasn't eye-popping, but her presence kept Indiana from being completely overrun. And then there was Shea Petty, the newcomer on a 7-day hardship contract. Thrown into the fire with almost no preparation, she delivered 10 points and knocked down 3 of 4 from behind the arc. Her composure shooting the ball was impressive, though the challenge of running the offense revealed just how new she was to the system. Still, in a season defined by setbacks, her unexpected spark was a reminder that sometimes help can come from the most unlikely places. But even with Hull's breakout, Mitchell's brilliance, Boston's steadiness, and Petty's debut, the reality was clear. Indiana simply didn't have enough. One player's surge cannot erase the absence of 6 others. One inspiring half cannot cover up the collapse of another. And one career night cannot change the fact that this team is hanging by a thread in the playoff race. As it stands, the Fever remain in 6th place, but the margin is razor thin. They sit just a half game ahead of 7th, and barely a game and a half above 9th. Every loss chips away at their playoff cushion, and another back-to-back against Minnesota looms just around the corner. If Indiana can't adjust, that cushion could disappear in a matter of days.